Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a good week in the markets this week. My name is Jake with Jake Trades and Invests, where we do a weekly dive into the markets for the main indices and commodities, and we see where the markets might be headed. So, with all of that said, let's jump into our first chart. We're going to take a look at gold here. Gold's had a pretty strong week this week. Over the last few weeks, it had kind of pulled back and consolidated over the 20 EMA before pushing higher 2 weeks ago, and then again a small consolidation with a gap higher to end the week Thursday and Friday. So for now, we may still continue to see some small pullbacks here and there, but as long as the price continues to stay above the 20 or even the 50 EMA, the price looks good to continue to head higher. So we'll move to silver now. Silver is still working its way higher, not quite as strong looking as gold for the moment, but silver tends to follow gold. So with gold heading higher, I would think silver is going to continue to do the same as well. It looks like we're also pulling back to the 20 EMA before having some strong buying coming off of the support areas. So again, silver in the short to medium term looks good to continue higher as well. Platinum, we did get a bounce back up around the $1,000 level. We're above the EMAs, so I think platinum still may consolidate because it tends to chop sideways quite a bit. But overall, I think there is some momentum starting to build. We've got a lot of green, big green candles coming in here. The selling is not as strong, it looks like, and we did have a strong gap up and buying day on Thursday last week, so looks like the momentum's back to the upside for now. It's possible again that we will come back up and test this resistance area that's been here for the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's got to be coming very soon, though, that we'll eventually get the breakout above that area, and then I'm sure a retest before heading higher. But I do think platinum is looking good to head higher in the short to medium term. Copper continued to head higher this week before having some selling days for the second half of the week, but we are still above the 20 and 50 EMAs. We may see some consolidation coming into this week to allow these moving averages to catch up, but with the momentum that's been behind copper over the last couple of months, I think after this can consolidate probably around $5 seems like the logical area. I think that copper will continue to head higher like the other metals. Switching over to crude oil, we're starting to build a little momentum. That's what I was talking about last week. If this support zone would hold, we kind of dipped below, maybe got some of the stop losses, swiped some of those, and then we had a pretty strong week this week, pushing off of those lows here. So I think as long as price can continue to maybe consolidate where it's at and then push higher some more, I think we'll test this resistance zone coming down through here. And then if we can get above this 200 EMA and get these other EMAs up above the 200 over the next month or two, oil looks good to continue to head higher if that happens. The other scenario would be oil comes up, maybe touches the 200 EMA and gets rejected and falls lower. We'll have to wait and see how the price reacts over the next couple of weeks in this $70 to $72 area before really knowing which way oil is going to head. Natural gas is looking good. It had a pull back down towards the 50 EMA. Looks like it found some support around 385, 380, somewhere in there. It had some strong buying days to end the week. I'm going to move this support zone here down a little bit because it does look like around 380 or 385 is kind of where the support and resistance is coming in for now. But it looks like natural gas may end up pushing back up towards this $4.80 to $5 range that's overhead. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think natural gas looks good for a short-term buying opportunity here. As for the indices, we'll start with the S&P 500. We had a bit of a selling to end the week this week. We did gap up on Monday, but that gap's now been filled and we're headed back down towards these lows. Obviously, everyone's watching the 5,500 level. That's the low that's currently in. If that level can hold, we may have another bounce here, but I'm still thinking there's going to be some sideways consolidation and even some further downside in the short term. But yeah, the important thing right now is to see how this 5,500 level holds up over the next week or two. But with the moving averages starting to head down, we're also below the 200 EMA, which is not usually a good sign for the price. So if price remains below the 200 EMA and these other moving averages start crossing below it, we could have some further downside in the near term. Nasdaq, same story. We're back down towards the lows of the last couple of weeks. Our 20 EMA has crossed the 200, which doesn't really mean a whole lot at the moment, but if like the S&P, if the price can work its way back up above the EMAs over the next couple of weeks, and we can have a little bit of consolidation, these moving averages may come down and then start to turn again and head higher. But as of right now, the price is below the EMAs and they are pointing down, so it's looking like some more sideways consolidation to even some further downside could be in the near future. Same story for the Dow. We had the gap up on Monday, and then that was immediately followed by a turnaround heading back towards our support zone from where the price bounced last time. So much like the other indices, I would think the Dow is probably going to do the same. We'll see how it reacts around this support zone. If price can come down, hold, it's possible we get the double bottom and bounce higher. Or if we start falling through that support zone with some momentum, then some further downside is likely. And the Russell looking a lot like the Dow. The difference here is that the prices have been below the moving averages for quite some time with quite a bit of momentum. The 50 EMA has crossed the 200 EMA. And so for now, as long as the $2,000 level holds, I think we're going to see some sideways consolidation using the EMAs as some dynamic resistance areas, but I'm expecting to see some sideways consolidation. But if this $2,000 level can't hold in the next week or two and we start seeing price fall below that with any kind of momentum, then the further downside is definitely likely for the Russell. And we'll finish up here with Bitcoin. Like the indices, we're just kind of bouncing sideways and have some downside right now. We are still holding above the 200 EMAs. That's the only real saving grace at the moment. But it looks like with the selling pressure on Friday, price is going to come back down and at least test the $80,000 level, test the 200 EMA. This is not a very strong bounce from the EMA, so it looks like we've got a little bit more downside to go. But like the indices, we'll have to wait and see if price kind of just starts to chop sideways for a little while while the market sorts itself out. And with all of that, that's what I've got for this week. I appreciate anyone that tuned in. As always, if you find value from the content and from the analysis, please give a like and a subscribe. Also, check out last week's video to see how the analysis held up into this week. And I will see you all again next weekend. Have a good week.